Before I start today's video, guys, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to James C. for providing some of the footage in this video. I will leave the link to his channel in the description below, as well as the footage used. So let's get right into it. Yo, what is up, guys? It's me, Hedgehog Coasters, and today I will be discussing which park will receive the second Chance Hyper GTX. So in today's video, I'll discuss what a Chance Hyper GTX is, why another one hasn't been built, which park could receive one, and then will another one actually be built. So let's get right into it. So first of all, what is a Chance Hyper GTX? So the Chance Hyper GTX is also known as like a mini hypercoaster. So essentially it contains half of what an actual hypercoaster does. So while the current only one operating, which is Lightning Run Kentucky Kingdom, is only 100 feet tall, so half the height, 2,500 feet long, typically about half the length, and 2 minutes long, about half the ride duration. It's still very intense. Lightning Run has an 80-degree drop, tons of airtime cells, so bank turns and intense helixes, and it is a well-paced coaster. Plus, these only cost $7 million. In retrospect, the average Intamin or B&M hypercoaster, like the standard hyper, costs $15 to $30 million. And then, just in general, like, this costs as much as a 40 free spin or RMC Raptor, so, I mean, this is really a steal in the coaster industry. However, Lightning Run opened in 2014, and even though it was a successful, ride, no other Hyper GTXs have been built. Why? Well, stay tuned to find out. So first of all, why hasn't another one already been built? So my first reason is kind of more logical reason. I feel like larger parks would. A lot of parks already do have a hypercoaster. The ones that don't, the big parks would probably just go for a standard hypercoaster. While the smaller parks will go for other coaster models like Eurofighter spinning coasters, small scale wooden coasters, single rail coasters, family inverted coasters, all of those, family suspended coasters, all of those types of coasters. Now, my other reason is kind of a more obscure one. I feel like it's possible that parks may have contacted Chance to build another one of these coasters. However, it's possible Chance denied these requests. Entering the coaster industry nowadays is, pretty risky. I mean, there's only just, over 10 big manufacturers in the industry right now with, you got Intamin, B&M, RMC, Premier, GCI, Gravity Group, you got Gerstlauer, SNS, and, a few others in there. So, I don't, if they did enter this, I don't think they would last that long, so it's possible that they didn't want to enter the, coaster wars that might reemerge again. So anyways, which U.S. parks may receive one next? So I have 14 parks. Michigan's Adventureland, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, The Great Escape, Silverwood, Wild Adventures, Six Flags St. Louis, Frontier City, Knoebels, Magic Springs, SeaWorld San Diego, Lake Compounds, Lagoon, and then Mount Olympus. So up next, I have 3 categories, which will knock out 8 of the parks. So my first category is the park size. So Frontier City is out. I mean, these coasters, while they are smaller, Frontier City literally has no space, so they could not even fit this without removing something big. Also, SeaWorld San Diego is getting the axe. I mean, they're adding Emperor. We basically know what their next coaster is with their family multi-launch, which is dumb, but whatever. And then they really don't have that much room for future expansion without removing anything. And then Mount Olympus is also being removed because they are very low on space, and all of their main coasters essentially feature what a Chance Hyper does, so they don't really need one in general. So my second category is the price. Most of these parks will be willing to spend this money. Michigan's Adventure is not likely to spend this amount of money. I feel like even if they did, it would be on a different coaster model, like a 40 free spin. Other than this, I'm also putting Magic Springs on the list. I don't see them making, a ton of money based on their location. And, I don't feel like they're going to... If they do get a coaster soon, I don't think it's going to be something big like this. I feel like it's just going to be a family coaster. So, finally, my final category is, just logic. So, Six Flags St. Louis and Lagoon are out. Lagoon, if they wanted to, could probably afford a B&M Hyper. Lagoon has been doing a lot of in-house attractions lately, so they might go for something like that. And then Six Flags St. Louis already has a lot of coasters kind of similar to this, and, I think, Six Flags really wanted to, they could add another hyper coaster, maybe by SNS or Vekoma or whatever. And then I also have to remove Wild Ventures. I mean, they've been working a lot with Vekoma. So I see them getting like a Vekoma Blitz Coaster next instead of, Chance Hyper. So we have 6 parks remaining, and they are Adventureland, Silverwood, The Great Escape, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, Knoebels, and Lake Compounds. So here are my final rankings. So number 6 is Silverwood. Silverwood is definitely a good candidate for it. Chance Hyper GTX. The park steel coasters are based on inversions, and their wooden coasters are more for airtime and laterals. Why not add a steel coaster for airtime then? Well, you have the RMC plant literally right down the road, so I feel like they might add a hybrid first. And I made this way back in August. It's been a delayed video, and I made these predictions before they announced their 2021 coaster, just before. So come on, I wasn't that far off of a RMC coaster. And then they do need a launch coaster, so maybe a Skyrocket 2 or like a Blitz coaster maybe. I know that would be big, but still be kind of cool. Now number 5 is the Great Escape. So you've heard of it, but probably ignored it. Now you see it in the top 5. So Great Escape desperately needs a new coaster. Their last coaster was in 2005. That was a kiddie coaster. And then their last coaster before that was 2003, but it was a relocated Aero Mine Train with Canyon Blaster. So the park steel coasters aren't the greatest, and the only airtime in the park is really uncommon. So Great Escape can't get a hyper coaster, and I don't think Six Flags would even invest that much into the park. So, there is room for it, and the height for a Hyper GTX wouldn't be a problem. Now, that being said, it's the Great Escape. So, Six Flags has the money, but just doesn't like the park. They might get a water coaster, which I know, or a Skyrocket 2 before they get this. And by a water coaster, I mean both, a pro-size water coaster and a Mack Power Splash. So, yeah. So, number 4 is Adventureland. The park's coasters are alright. You got Monster is a pretty good ride, but the rest of the lineup is okay. It's a spinning coaster, a wooden coaster, and now 40 free spin. The park needs a strong airtime machine. I know you got Monster, but that's a lot of inversions too. So this ride could definitely fit in the remaining land that used to be home to Dragon. Now similar to Silverwood, the park does need a launch coaster. So Vekoma Blitz would be great at the park, but something for Mack rides like a Mack multi-launch would also be really cool at the park. So number 3 is Knoebels. This ride would really help complete Knoebels' coaster lineup. 2 wooden coasters, an indoor coaster, a twister like steel coaster, as well as a bobsled, their wooden bobsled and kiddie coaster. They're all pretty good coasters, but when you add another major steel coaster, it really helps it. And you got a third airtime machine. I know it's a second, but Phoenix and Twister both gives pretty strong airtime. This will make a great chop too. Now, this type of coaster is meant for a smaller park like Knoebels. Now, why wouldn't I see this coming? I just can't imagine one of these rides being built in the park. Sure, they are meant for a park like this, but I think they would go with a manufacturer like S&S or Zero building their next coaster to here. I mean, they seem to like Zero with their last coaster, so yeah, we'll see. So number 2 is Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This would be a great park for a hyper coaster, but they only have the 150-foot height limit. A GTX is just like a hyper coaster, except shorter in height, and they take up less space. Now, the park already has Joker, which provides airtime, but not tons. And then you got Medusa, which is a really intense B&M, but, it's, very intense. So, the rest of the park's coasters are more inversion-based and have pretty short layouts. So, with a hyper GTX, you get airtime and a decent-sized layout. Now, the only issue with this is you'd have to remove a coaster for this. I mean, you could remove Kong, and, obviously that's still good, but it still costs a lot of money to remove a ride. And also, the park doesn't have much space left in general, so yeah. So anyways, number 1 is Lake Compounds. This is the perfect park. Lake Compounds, yep, it's the perfect park. Nothing can really beat Superman. I don't think Lake Compounds could beat Superman. Obviously, Quasi couldn't, but this would definitely get SFNE's attention. Maybe we should start to get a little concerned now. Not only does the park have the space for a coaster like this, but the park's attendance levels have been getting higher as well, which means, maybe you want a new coaster to just increase your profit more. These coasters are pretty cheap, fairly smooth, and pack everything a major hyper coaster typically would have in a smaller footprint. Lake Compounds hasn't added anything major recently as well, so hopefully the park's looking at a big investment for the future. I've seen a few videos where they predict the B&M hypers. I just don't see the park spending as much money for that. You know, if they could, it'd be great, but I just really don't see it happening. So yeah. So anyways, guys, to conclude today's video, I will be discussing if I do believe that another one of these coasters will be built. And my answer to you is yes. Now, I don't see one of these being built until at least 2024, but I still do believe that Chance will come out and build one of these. Now, like I said, I do believe it'll be at Lake Compounds, but I could also see it going to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, Knoebels, maybe Adventureland down the line. But maybe not even just in America. I mean, you know, one of these could be built in Europe first, or Japan, or China, or Australia before one of these is built in North America again. So that's pretty much it for today's video. So anyways, please click like and subscribe and comment down below where you think the next Chance Hyper GTX will be built. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.